Another really common alteration is to alter the seventh, particularly if you're doing like a rock or a blues song. So let's go back to the key of C, as your C major triad. Now, diatonically, using all the white keys in C, the seventh is a major seventh there. But all kinds of rock songs and blues songs feature the chord built on the one that has that lowered seventh. I mean, I'm talking 500,000 songs from Hound Dog to Happy Birthday by the Beatles. You know, oftentimes, we actually talked about this before, that not only the one chord has that lowered seventh, but also the four chord. Lots of times in a 12-bar blues progression, remember we talked about that when we talked about form, the one chord and the four chord both have that alteration. See that where the seventh is lowered? So that actually it's the same type of chord that shows up on the 5 naturally. In other words, on the G, the seventh is a minor seventh. But on the C chord, you've got to lower it if you want that kind of bluesy seventh sound. Right? So you know, you hear that sound in a 12-bar blues. So both of those chords have the seventh altered. So you remember earlier when we were talking about secondary dominant chords? Well, by their nature, a secondary dominant chord always has to have some kind of alteration in it. Just to remind you, a secondary dominant is using a dominant chord structure to pull you anywhere in the key. I think the example we used in that earlier chapter was the song Yesterday by the Beatles. So there, what you're doing, you're in the key of C. Now that E chord, with that alteration right there, that's an E7 chord, that G sharp doesn't exist, so we had to alter that E to turn it into a dominant chord, and it pulls you really strongly into the A minor. So anytime you have a secondary dominant, you're going to have some kind of alteration. Some other examples of secondary dominants would be, actually, you know, a great way to show it is the classic hymn, A Mighty Fortress. You know that song? So just think through that one with me. Mighty fortress is our God. So if you didn't do that alteration, it would be, is our God, which works okay, but this pulls stronger with the alteration. A mighty fortress is our... See the F sharp? That's the alteration right there. God. Going to the next phrase. See the alteration right there? Now here's how it sounds without it. It still works, but the secondary dominant with that alteration pulls stronger. So that dominant is pulling you to the D minor. It's pulling you to 2. Just like in the song Yesterday, that dominant, that pulls you to 6. The A minor being the 6. So basically a secondary dominant is a dominant structure that can pull you to any destination in the key. And anytime you have a secondary dominant, you're always going to have some kind of alteration.